Welcome everybody to another episode of the Genesis Mindset. And what an explosive week it was last week. My channel more than quadrupled. I had massive amounts of views on one of my videos. So again, thank you so much, guys, that you really resonated with this content and you were reaching out, you were connecting. For me, that's the most beautiful thing, actually witnessing the power of this network that's expanding just by myself trying to learn and understand and deliver this content, and then people responding to it, wanting to connect with me. It's been phenomenal. It's been so much fun. It was a wild week. So I have continued my obsession with the Atropa ecosystem. Once I latch onto something and I get obsessed, I find it very difficult to stop. So I have actually got some more developments. So again, in this episode, I'm going to try and condense everything for you into at least, let's say, 15 minutes to 30 minutes. I'm not very good at predicting the amount of time, but hopefully in that amount of time. So hours and hours of research into such a short amount of time. So with a bit of luck, I can hit that mark. So without further ado, let's get straight into the presentation. So again, welcome to the Genesis Mindset. And as always, this is mindset for investing, trading, and life. So really, again, just to reemphasize, I'm all about mindset. That's what I'm about. And this is personal opinion only. This is not financial advice. I'm not here to tell you to buy something. I'm really trying to be as objective and as neutral as possible. Obviously, at the moment, I'm covering a lot of pulse chain content. This is something that I'm very passionate about because I see this as being the most exciting ecosystem that's coming up in this next bull run. But I'm also extremely passionate about decentralized finance in general. I'm extremely passionate about the metaverse, and I'm extremely passionate about artificial intelligence because I think the coalescence and coexistence of those three things together is going to lead to an abundant future. So I will be covering more of those things as things develop and as the time permits. But at the moment, this is the thing that I think is most important, which is why I'm covering it a lot, because it's really something that's hitting the market right now. So Pulsechain will pump. Thank you very much, Atropa. So what I am seeing. So just quickly, what we will cover in this particular episode. So first of all, I want to show and highlight the relationship between Pulsechain and Atropa, because that's what it's all about. Atropa is feeding Pulsechain. That's the main thing. Atropa is not something where it's stealing anything away from Pulsechain. It's actually feeding into it. That's what I really want to show. Then I'm going to update you on my developments in the learnings for Atropa. So I have been Telegram, Twitter, YouTube videos. There was a fantastic one today with I think it was either it was Vibra Finance today. Vibra Finance and Zach. Vibra Finance and Zach. That was a really good stream. The verse, I've been gorging on all his content. He's been at this for weeks and weeks. He's amazing. So go back and watch all his content to really build that story in your mind. I can't recommend it enough. And then of course, Sonny the Detective is amazing. Go into his Telegram group. I'm in the Telegram groups on Atropa, the different kinds of Telegram groups, watching as much as I possibly can, learning as much as I possibly can, as well as Twitter Spaces. And then this is what I believe that it's all about. So I think we're actually looking at this from the wrong perspective. So what I want to actually show is that this is all about liquidity providing, and how the power of liquidity providing is good for you and it's good for the ecosystem, because that is the best solution. When it's good for me and good for the whole, that is exactly the kind of relationship that you want. If it's just good for me and it impacts the whole in a negative way, then it's not so good. But if it's good for me and it impacts the whole in a positive way, you're onto a real winner right there. So the pulse chain to Atropa relationship. So what I'm going to show in just a moment is price up, price down. So the inverse relationship between pulse chain and Atropa, and potentially how it could create this upward ratcheting effect. So this is Hart's law in motion. So something that Sonny the Detective said the other day that I thought was just beautiful, that this ecosystem, this Atropa idea, this concept is basically some mathematical geniuses. This is his masterpiece. And I just thought that was so beautiful, because it's a mathematical equation, but the way that it's interacting with the world, it's like it's this symphony. And Sonny the Detective always describes it as this wave, and it's all of these things. People are describing it in natural ways, in waves, growth patterns. Someone even today was talking about it being like a momentum ratchet, like how you have in cars. I think you call it a flywheel. There's all these different analogies for it, which I think are fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a new share into the, here we go. So the inverse relationship. So first I want to just quickly cover the overarching story that I'm seeing in Pulsechain at the moment. So at the moment, I've highlighted these two particular areas. So I've highlighted this huge trend line, and this was Axis Alive, who I haven't got the Fibonacci's here, but he was showing Fibonacci's, and he's saying potentially we could come down to these price levels. And I am inclined to believe, and I also am very hopeful. I'm actually crossing my fingers. I want it to continue to drop down here. I want to pick up more Pulsechain. This is my mindset. The lower it goes, the better. Because now that I'm seeing Atropa is this thing which is going to help it go. I mean, honestly, before I started to really learn about Atropa, my predictions for Pulsechain were, 100x based on everything that Somi was saying. I thought this makes a lot of sense. He's mounting a really good argument, and I'm really behind Somi. He's a very intelligent guy. But then now that I'm seeing what I'm seeing with the Atropa, those predictions are starting to go out the door. I actually don't see 1,000 to 10,000x out of the realm of possibilities. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. Don't go and buy based on that. This is only just my crackpot theories based on what I'm seeing, but I'm actually seeing that now within the realm of possibility. So now what I've done here is I've just quickly shown these patterns that I'm seeing emerge. So we had the big sell-off. So we had a 1, 2, we had a down, up, and then it kind of trickled around the pleb sacrifice rate. So this is the 0.0001 rate. So this is my sacrifice rate. This is all us plebs. And then it bounced off this trend line, and then this is when the SEC fought against Richard Hart. We had a huge dump all the way down to the whale rate. Now, dump down, bounce up 1, bounce up 2, bounce down 3. We had 1, bounce up 2, bounce down 3 below the whale sacrifice rate. Now on here, 4, 5, and then up to 6, it bounced off this trend line. So we've got the same thing here. It's bounced up, just like here. It's gone up through the sacrifice rate, up through the whale sacrifice rate, 4, down below the whale sacrifice rate, 5, just like here, it's gone up above 6 and then down below. So 6, then down below. Now, the thing is, this was a big FUD event. So potentially we could trickle around here for a while. And then maybe something that's happening with Richard Hart, we get a big sell-off. Maybe trend lines, really, they're artificial. So whether or not this ends up playing out, I don't know. Again, I really hope so. I really want, this sounds terrible, but I want to see a capitulation. I think there needs to be some whales who capitulate, some weekend whales, for it to go as lower than this. Because again, people who aren't familiar with what's going on in the ecosystem still think that it's dead. There's people fighting Richard Hart. There's people fighting the ecosystem. There's still a lot of negativity out there. So this is what I'm seeing in the overall market. Now, what I'm going to actually do is show the Atropa to Pulsechain relationship. So just make this a tiny little bit smaller. So here we have WPLS to die, and then Atropa to WPLS. Now, these lines that I've indicated here, I've tried to make it nice and simple. So let's centralize this so it's nice and simple. So these are some key dates. So here's the 12th or the 11th or 12th of August. So this dark blue line is related to this dark blue line, mid blue line, light blue line, and then here we are. So let's have a look at this. So as Pulsechain is going down, Atropa was going up. As Pulsechain was going up, Atropa was going down. So you see this up, down, down, up. Conversely here, from the 1st of September, when we started to have this massive run in Atropa, we're also seeing this dip in Pulsechain. So here, money's flowing out of Pulsechain into Atropa. And now here, this date here, so this recent sell-off here, so from the 13th, we've started to see people start to now take their profits from these different coins, these different parts of the ecosystem, and Pulsechain is going up. And of course, Atropa was going down. You had Teddy Bear going down. You had all these different tokens going down. So that's what we're starting to see here. Okay, sure, that's reasonably obvious. There's an inverse relationship. Now, the interesting part is with Hart's law, what we want to actually start seeing is not quite yet. So again, what I'm hoping for is a lower low. And the reason why I think also is another potential for a lower low is still there's a lot of eyeballs that don't even know what's going on with Atropa. There's a lot of people who don't actually know, but the fact that my last video had like thousands of views, the ones before that like only less than 100 or just 100 is like, okay, people are really interested in this. The eyeballs are starting to turn, but there's still a lot of eyeballs that aren't on it yet. There's still a lot of people that even now, potentially after learning more about what's going on with liquidity providing, are going to start to take out their pulse chain and put it into the liquidity pools and into the different tokens to create liquidity pools, which hopefully I'll tell the story of in just a moment. But in general, what we want to start to see here is you've got this higher low. Then potentially after this, once we get this event here, which I'm hoping for, there'll be enough money in the Atropa ecosystem outside of the pulse chain ecosystem that's now going to create this upward ratcheting effect. So higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and it's just going to continue in this direction. I think now, as that happens, this will also start to happen in Atropa. So they have to go hand in hand, higher low, higher low. We're going to see a higher low. We're going to see some higher lows. We're going to see some higher lows. So there's still going to be an inverse relationship, but they're going to ratchet each other up. They're ratcheting each other up, which is Hart's law in motion. So that's what I'm hoping is actually going to happen with this ecosystem. That's what I'm starting to see. That's what's really starting to make my mind and my heart glow. This is really the thing that I'm starting to see unfold. Okay, so now back to the presentation. So potentially this is what's happening. So now the Atropa developments and learnings. So the 414 keeps growing. So the 414 is the Genesis wallet for Atropa. So new tokens are continuously being created all the time, like almost on a daily basis. And now what we're starting to see is now these tokens actually starting to connect with Ethereum. So Atropa has been deployed on Ethereum. And at first I thought, oh, that's no good because this whole system of interacting, this ecosystem that's interacting with buys and sells and arbitrage bots and minting and burning, that's ratcheting up the whole system. If that starts happening on Ethereum, then it kind of kills the concept. If that starts happening on Ethereum, then it's going to start to kill the power of it on Pulsechain. But if it actually creates this developing upward momentum on Ethereum, what is this Atropa? And it starts gaining traction. And then Ethereum eyeballs go, what is this Atropa? And then they realize there's this whole Atropa ecosystem on Pulsechain. One is now that money can start going, hang on a minute. I can either stay here in Atropa to Ethereum, or I can go to Atropa or Pulsechain and get much more X's of gains. In Ethereum, I'm going to get 3 to 5X in this bull run. In Pulsechain, I could get 100, 1,000, 10,000X. People's minds are going to start blowing up with those gains. And then also, this is something that Sunny keeps emphasizing, is there's potentially going to be no downside pressure on Pulsechain. So just like I showed that relationship before, instead of people selling the WPLS for Atropa, people can now start selling the Ethereum. So that can be the thing that they dump on, basically. So that could also be an interesting development. So that's something that I'm starting to see form. And then how this is actually going to start bridging people over into PRC20s is also the developments that I'm starting to see happen in Pulsechain. So now let's continue on. So this is what I'm starting to see. It's actually all about liquidity providing. So at the moment, everybody's chasing the tokens that are created by the 414. So the 414 wallet keeps creating all these tokens, and there's channels, and there was Monet Money, which was one. It just had a nice pump. Now, I'm not saying don't do this. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying this is what everyone seems to be doing. Getting into these quick pump and dumps. But is that actually really the point? Is that actually really the best play? Because there's actually also a lot of random tokens that are being created. So I'm going to actually just go back to this. And again, I'm not saying these are good or bad. We're all here for the gains. So I have to show this one because it's my boy Shane Schuler. So Richard's only brother. So look at this token that is created. So it has a market cap of 48K, liquidity of 2.6K. Oh, geez, look at this. So it's had over a 10X. It's had over a 10X. Are we showing it in logarithmic? Okay, all right. So there it is in logarithmic. So it's had over a 10X already. So I don't know if you're supposed to show it from here. I mean, okay, that's ridiculous. All right, so that's like almost what have we got? That's almost like a 200X, unless I'm mistaken. But these wicks, I'm actually not too sure how this works with these ridiculous wicks, which you don't see in non-log. Oh, he's still Yeah, okay. All right. So, okay. So, the supply on this is only one, but these are some of the things that people are speculating on. I'm not saying speculate. I'm not saying don't speculate. I'm just saying this is what people are doing. So this is, for example, this is one that's created by Shane Schuler. So if you want to support Shane's reunion with his brother Richard, then you can get behind this. You can speculate. Then you had FBI. So this was a fun one after B Roots. What was it? The FOMO. Oh, what was it? Oh, here we go. FOMO buying investigators when he took the piss out of Wales only. He's very antagonistic B Roots, but that's part of his shtick. That's what gets the eyeballs. It's all about that whole, what is it? The outrage marketing. So that's what he's all about. So I had this big run up, and my friend was saying, oh, he really wanted to buy, and he saw the prices here the other day, and he's like, oh, the next day came along, it had done a 2x, and he was kicking himself. But now look at it. It's dropped. It's dropped. Well, it's dropped. Let's say where it's dropped from the all-time high. I'm not saying it can't recover. So now it's dropped, about 80%. So there's also risk associated with this, right? So these aren't supported by the 414s. They can just do the quick pump and dump. So you have to be very, very careful, very, very mindful of these different tokens. So again, I have showed in one of my previous videos, so I'm going to link that up in here, how you actually find the 414 tokens. And I recommend that you watch that whole video just to get up to speed with what's going on with the Atropa ecosystem. Okay, so now let's go back to the presentation, to my little meditating peppy, because again, I'm a degen, but I like to do things very carefully. I like to be very meditative about how I do things. It's all about having a clear, calm mind and doing things properly. Now, my liquidity pool that I created the other day. So a duck named Bill. So after I had created this video, then there was this TSRI that appeared with the creators, which was Bill and Greg. So I thought this was funny. So this is something that I've stuck with. And I'm going to show how I've been earning fees in this liquidity pool. Then I'm also going to show how the arbitrage bot is what's generating the fees. So I created a TRSI and Hex pool. Okay, so it's not a huge pool, but it was a unique pool. I wanted to just create a unique pool. And I want to actually show how this is actually generating fees, because it's not about whether or not someone trades Hex into TRSI. It's the bots that are doing that. So as TRSI is moving, price is moving in another pool, let's say TRSI and WPLS price moves, then the bot is arbitraging this price differential in the TRSI and Hex pool. So that's how these arbitrage bots are playing into this. If Hex is price changing in a different pool, say from Hex to Pulsechain, then it's going to arbitrage the differences there. So this is how you're generating fees. So this is what it's actually potentially all about. So I want to actually show this, and I'm going to show you how to look at the different pools in just a second. And then, is this what it's actually all about? Is this, in my opinion, is what it's actually all about. This is something that Sunny's been emphasizing, and slowly, the pieces of the puzzle are forming in my mind. This is the power, because it's not necessarily about chasing this one token, which is going to do a 10x. It's about supporting the network with all these liquidity pools. The more liquidity pools there are, the healthier it is for the ecosystem, because there's more strength, there's more nutrients from which these arbitrage bots can arbitrage between. There's more liquidity in the overall ecosystem, and people are taking the liquidity off that can actually be sold. So this is what it's actually all about, which eventually feeds into this thesis of dragging in other people from other networks through enticing them. Hey, come and create a liquidity pool. Come and create an Atropa to Gala liquidity pool. If you're a big alluvium holder, come and create an Atropa alluvium. Come and trade a Teddy alluvium. And actually, in some of my next videos, I'm going to create some more pools, and then just again see what this looks like over a bunch of pools. So I'm actually going to show you what I'm seeing now with this particular pool, and then what it's actually going to be in the future. Okay, so back to my charts here. Okay, so again, these are my TRSI pools. So again, I just focused on this one particular token, because I want to see how this relates to, I want to see how this is eventually relating to Atropa. So there was a really good video with Axis Alive and the Verse, and I strongly recommend watching that. But basically, Axis Alive was trying to understand how it was working, and he was starting to see this relationship with, hang on a minute, when this is pumping, when I think it was Teddy, when Teddy is pumping, then also Atropa is pumping. And then when Teddy drops, then also Atropa's drops. okay, so then there's these relationships with certain tokens with the Atropa. And then inversely, there'll be other tokens where, okay, when this is dropping, then this is going up. Or when this is going up, this is going down, this is going up. So there's this whole ecosystem of things that are in equilibrium, which is absolutely phenomenal. So I wanted to just hone in on this TRSI and see what it's actually doing. So I bought some TRSI WPLS, I created this pool, and now I'm going to actually show you how you can actually look at liquidity pools that you have provided. So I'm just learning about this, by the way. So I'm a noob. Don't take everything that I say with a grain of salt. So what you want to do is you want to go down here, press these little three buttons, copy the pair address. Then you go to PulseX. You click on these little three buttons, or you just hover over it and you press info. Now, this particular pool was created on V2, so I'm going to click on V2 here. Then I'm going to copy and paste this pool here. TRSI hex. Here we go. Boom. So now here is the TRSI pool. Now, what I want to show is these are the bots is just ticking away with these buyers. The bots is just ticking away. Actually, it's sometimes a bit clearer to see on the actual deck screener, but you can also see it there. But I'll show it on deck screener because it shows the colors as well. So, for example, let's just say there's a trade somewhere, then instantly these bots just start little buy, little buy, little buy, little sell, little sell, little sell, little sell, little buy, little sell, little buy, little buy. So they're not huge. It's just these, little bits of nutrients. Okay, so now all these things are happening. So then the bots are actually creating the fees. So so the LP reward fees are 0.15 cents. Okay, so let me just go to this. So now I'm going to go here. So I want you to just see this here. This is the interesting part. This is the part where it was like, I need to keep monitoring this, but this was the mind-opening part. So I'll quickly show this one. So in this one, because I only own 0.03% of the pool, as this fluctuates, the impermanent loss is really, I had originally put around 40,000 pulse, and I think it was 400 MV. But obviously the price has changed so much that the MV, it's in favor of the MV. So my pulse chain, I'm getting that huge impermanent loss in my pulse chain, which is what I don't really want. I want to keep my pulse chain. But here, this is the beauty of the fees. So don't forget, when you add liquidity, let's just go to add liquidity, you will get, by adding liquidity, you will earn, so this is on V2, you will earn 0.22% of all trades on this pair proportional to your share of the pool. Fees are added to the pool, accrue in real time, and can be claimed by withdrawing your liquidity. Therefore, when all of these little trades are happening, I'm getting 0.22% of that based on my 52% share of the pool. So actually I'm getting, if it's 0.22%, I'm actually getting 0.11%, essentially around there. So that means every single one of these little trades, okay, a few hundred hex, actually I'm getting 1 hex out of that. I might get 1 hex out of this. I might get 2 hex out of that. I might get 4 hex out of that. I might get 4 hex out of that. I might get 0.0001 TRSI, for example. So then this is where it becomes very interesting. So in this, these are the original amount I had put in, it was 0.011. The amount of hex that I'd put in was 4,000 hex. But what you can see here is my TRSI has doubled, essentially, and my hex has more than doubled. So it's more than doubled because at the moment, that's where the impermanent loss comes into it. That's where the price chart affects it. But the fact that I have so much share in this pool, the fees are actually negating any issues that the impermanent loss creates. So if I've got a pool where I've got a PRC20 token and I'm like, well, I can just create. I want to, this is where it is mind blowing. So let's just say, again, going back to Illuvium, it's not about whether someone is going to trade TRSI for Illuvium. It's about the arbitrage bot creating these little these little trades arbitraging between the actual pools that people will be trading between. So if I eventually want to trade my Pulse for Illuvium, that's going to arbitrage between my TRSI and Illuvium. And that's where the beauty of this comes into it, because at the moment, really, everybody's a degen. Everybody wants to make a quick buck. But Richard Hart is all about long-term mindset. This ecosystem is all about long-term mindset, delayed gratification. That is the beauty of what's going on here. This is all about not, oh, wow, Illuvium's moved just a little bit on Pulsechain. I'm going to go there and sell it and then make $100 on, let's just say my Illuvium is worth $10,000 on Ethereum and it got copied over to Pulsechain and now it's worth 100. Oh, great. I'm going to just dump it and then take my money out, get $100 and take it out and go back to the Ethereum network. This is not what we want to see. This is what Atropa is actually going to do. Now people are going to look at this and go, hang on a minute. I can keep my Illuvium here, create a pool between my Illuvium and say TRSI, and then the arbitrage bots are meaning I'm going to keep generating more of these tokens. So instead of making this quick $100, I can actually leave this here for a year and I'm going to be making 10 cents a day and then $1 a day once the value of the tokens actually starts to go up, then $10 a day, then $20 a day. And that's what I'm starting to see. That's the picture that I'm starting to see emerge. This is negating the impermanent loss, but that's also because I have such a huge stake in the pool. So now back to this. You can also see who adds. So shout out to whoever's added into this. So these are my two little stakes, 3333. So here we go. So this is how much I'd initially put in. So as you can see, I have a lot more. Then one of my boys from the Fib Fund, he put in 555. Then we've got these other two people they've just chipped in. Now I can also then, okay, what are these wallets? I'm going to copy this. Let's see what this guy's got. I don't know. So this guy, what's he got in his wallet? So he's got a lot of Pulse reflections. He's got a lot of PulseX. He's got DAI stable coins, Atropa. Oh, actually, teddy bear, actually, to be honest. All right. Then you've got, this guy as well. What have they got in their wallet? They've got some teddy bear. They've got some Peppy. They've got some internet money, Cum Rocket, Fiat, Poor Pleb, PulseX, so on and so forth. So somebody's must have seen my video, decided to dip into it and has added some liquidity into it. One thing that I'm a bit I'm not too certain about is how come I still own 52% of the pool if this person has put in basically double the amount that I've, or basically the amount that is equal to my share at the moment. This is what I'm perhaps a little bit confused about. It might have been when he'd put that value in. I'm not too sure. He might have put it in at the top. So 4 days ago, I guess I could look into that, but that's something that I'll continue to dive deeper into. So now this is looking like it's definitely going over half an hour. I do apologize, but it is super condensed information. So actually, I'm going to wrap it up right now. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much once again. I'm adding on to here. Let's connect and grow together. So this is not something that I can do on my own. I'm doing this through the power of everybody else's sacrifices in their learning. What I'm also hoping to do is I'm seeing Sonny the detective basically say the same things every single day. Every single day, people keep asking the same questions, and I feel sorry for him. He's got an amazing heart. He's really trying to share as much as he can. He's seeing this whole thing develop, and his mind is blowing up on this as well. But it does take its toll on you saying the same thing every day, and it can get frustrating. So what I'm also hoping to do is basically whoever wants to connect, whoever wants to learn together. I'm trying to learn on Telegram. People have already started reaching out onto me on Twitter. So the best avenue for me is not Telegram because there's so many scammers. Connect with me on Twitter. So add me on Twitter and I'll add you back and then we'll start having a conversation. There was someone who Hexy equals MC squared. Awesome username, by the way. Awesome username. Connected with me on Twitter. So at coexist Steven. So at coexist Steven. So connect with me there. And if you have something that you want to share that we can learn and grow together, I'm totally open to that. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about learning and growing together. I'm not sitting here saying I'm some sort of genius whiz kid that figured this out all on my own. I've actually pulled all this information based on everything that I've learned, and I'm just giving it to you from my perspective. This is how things develop. This is how things grow. This is what coexistence is all about. So once again, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope it provided a lot of value, and I hope you can start to see the picture that I'm starting to see emerge. start creating liquidity pools, start experimenting, start just dipping your toes in. I've dipped my toes in. That's the way that I like to learn. Now I'm going to actually start creating a lot more liquidity pools, 5, 10, 15, just to see if this thesis is actually continuing to play out. If it is, maybe something happened here that I missed, that maybe, okay, my pools doubled for some reason that I didn't really quite understand. So once I start creating across 5 or 10 different pairs and I start to see this story evolve, then we're on to a winner. So that's what this is all about. It's all about the expansion and the development of the Pulse Chain ecosystem. Never forget that. Atropa is here to pump Pulse Chain. It's to bring the network effect into Pulse Chain. And it is an absolutely beautiful mathematical equation. It is astounding. It is actually astounding. And it is something that seems to replicate nature. Everything in nature has a give and a take. Everything has a relationship. It's not just about a one-way street. I'm just going to take from this to pump. It's all about these relationships that coexist. Coexistence is heaven, my friends. That's what it's all about. Let's coexist together. Let's work together. Thank you very much for watching another episode. Take care.